Hey guys, Professor Bill of Comic Book University, and we're going to be talking about Iron Man versus the Ghost. This is the first appearance of the Ghost in Iron Man issues number 219, 220, 221, where he apparently dies, but it's one of those ambiguous deaths where you're like, anyway, I probably shouldn't spoil the ending. So, what happens here is basically Tony Stark, he's in his Silver Centurion armor. Now, I gotta say, this is about the time when I first started playing the Marvel Superheroes Advanced Role-Playing Game System. I hadn't been reading Iron Man so much as of late at the time in the mid-'80s. So when all of a sudden this came about and I saw this, the Silver Centurion armor, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know what I'm saying? And I started reading Iron Man again because of the Marvel Superheroes game. Go figure. Anyway, so this story, geez, way back 1987. What do we got? We got, David Michelinie and Bob Layton are on the writing team. Now, so that means that they are responsible for the creation of the Ghost. We also say the artist, right? Well, go figure. Bob Layton is also responsible for the pencils and the inks on this story. Yeah, I know. Really quickly. Juliana Ferriter. Okay, I'm sorry if I destroyed your name. I'm so sorry, madam. She's on colors. And Janice Chang, she's on letters. And the indelible Mark Grunwald. He is doing the editing here. So, all that being what it is, let's get right into the story itself, shall we? So, we basically have, oh, and mind you, yes, this is before the Armor Wars, which is my favorite story, which we will have to be spotlighting very soon. In the meantime, Tony Stark is out jogging. Now, this is one of those things where it's like Tony Stark is the most impossible creature ever to exist. He's as good looking as you can imagine. He's buff like you wouldn't believe. He's got better cardio than Rhodey, who was a Vietnam vet, back at the time. Let it go. So, he's better at shoot. He's better at everything. He's the best. He's the best. And he didn't even take the super soldier serum. You know what I'm saying? He's got everything going for him. Riches, fame, brains, everything. So anyway, and that's one of the reasons why so many people just found him so unbelievable. It's like, dude, nobody's that darn perfect. So anyway, this knucklehead, he's out there jogging, and all the girls like, oh, hey, how you doing? And there's two girls in the car like, hey, you know what? Why don't we take you someplace really cool, like, our place? Yeah, the 80s was really great for your libido when you were a kid. I'm just saying. So anyway, all of a sudden Rhodey shows up in his helicopter. And it's not a standard chopper where he's going to pick. No, it's like this gigantic freaking thing. It's like a miniature fortress. So it's like, no, sorry, ladies, but my ride's here. Dude, oh, man, this is the ultimate way to pick up girls. Just be like, yeah, I'm in a chopper. Just saying. So he gets in the chopper. It's got its own shower. Oh, for crying out loud. So he's taking a shower. Tony Stark is always taking a shower. There's hardly a comic book that passes that Tony Stark isn't taking a shower. It's like, hey, everybody, how you doing? And he's got no problem showering in front of guys, girls, whatever, because Tony Stark is, like I said, perfect in every single way. Is what it is, dude. So he's going out to this place called Accutech. Now, he's got to get there because, reasons. He's going to buy the place. Of course, he's going to buy the place. It's going to be great for the current fiscal season. So, also, they've got this beta ray technology. All right, not like the beta rays that were able to make permanent the vitamin supplements and the steroids and whatnot that increased Captain America's physiology. No, something entirely different. Anyway, it's supposed to basically slow down the beta wave transmission that comes naturally from radiation, through radiation. So anyway, Tony Stark gets to the location, but there's a brush fire. And it's actually more like a forest fire. They say it's a brush fire. No, it's huge. It's a gigantic fire. So he switches to his Silver Centurion armor, and he's like, oh, well, I'm going to make my first appearance like this. And he just makes this huge trench and then flies off. It's like a fire break. He's able to go to an airfield several miles away, and they've got a truck full of foam. It's obviously a fire retardant foam, but he can see this and right away say, oh, it's clearly a truck full of foam, so let's go down. It's like the dude knows everything. Picks it up, flies back, starts spreading the foam every place, and this way the fire is reduced enough that the firemen can actually do their job, because Tony Stark is a better firefighter than the firemen. Just, anyway. So this is Iron Man's introduction to Accutech. So he gets there and the guys are talking like, hey, you know, we're trying to sell this stuff. We're about to go broke. And there's just a couple little transitions we can't do to finish the beta project, the ionic beta ray project that we're working on. So, you know, if you were to come along, you'd be able to do that and it would be great for the investors. But for right now, we can't get investors to sign on because we can't get it to work. Well, Tony Stark is actually on his last leg right now. He just had this huge thing with Stain and Stain International, I should say. They took over Justin Hammer, excuse me. Yeah, Stain and Justin Hammer and Roxanne. All these people had their hand in destroying and taking over Stark International. So Tony Stark has recently made Stark Enterprises now, much smaller, but it's got his name behind it. So, you know, there's that. Anyway, so he's kind of on his last leg now. His credit is maxed. He doesn't have very much to do right now, but he's got just enough to buy this place. But if he can't get this beta inductor working in just a little while, well, then he's kind of screwed. So everybody's sitting there talking like, oh yeah, we've had some problems. You know, it seems they're not saying the word sabotage, but you know. And then this one cat starts talking. He's an old guy. He's almost 65. And he's like, no, it was the ghost. And it's like, oh, geez, with the legends. There's apparently some kind of a ghost that's coming around and taking things. Now, you and I know we should believe this guy. But right now, he's just the crazy old man on the hill that the Scooby Gang should probably be trying to unmask soon, right? It's not him. Anyway, so what do you call it? They're all hanging out, and it turns out that there's a lot of problems with Stark International right now. Stark Enterprises right now. They're running into all sorts of financial crises. There's people who are not getting paid. It's really bad. You know what I'm saying? And yet still, this guy's got women everywhere throwing themselves at him because he's Tony Stark, for crying out loud. So back at Accutech, much later, Stark is over there. He's going to sign he's like having some, last minute, questions. Should I actually sign this? Because this is all of my money. I had to take my personal funds out. You never take your personal funds out. Anyway, so yeah, that's what he does. And he signs it. The second that he signs it, suddenly there's some serious corporate sabotage going around by the Ghost. This is this dude. He can go check out Ghost Explained in a minute. Just came out today. And this cat, he's able to turn invisible or phase. He can't do both. You know what I'm saying? So walking through walls or you can't see me. You know what I'm saying? The John Cena effect. Oh my God, I just disappeared. So Stark turns into Iron Man. He goes after him, but the Ghost is like, wow, you're the first person who's ever seen me. I don't like that. So he's like giving him chase. Stark is like, I just got finished buying this place and I'm already wrecking the place. He's busting through walls because the Ghost is like, phasing through the walls and whatnot. The way that Stark is able to track him is because he's got a heartbeat detector. He can detect heartbeats. Yeah. The Ghost is able to figure that out somehow, and he actually sets up a little bomb with a fake heartbeat inside of a locker room. So Stark opens up this door like, what? And bomb blows up in his face. You gotta love this stuff. I love this stuff, man. This is the best. So Stark pulls out this device where it's ultrasonic, and everybody else has to pretty much run away. But the Ghost can't concentrate. He guesses. He's like, all of my enemies are cybernetic, or robotic, whatever, high tech. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blast this hypersonic beam. It's so loud and so confusing for the Ghost that he can't concentrate. And since his gear is actually cybernetic, he's got to be able to concentrate. Now, again, he can't turn invisible and phase. It's one or the other at a time. But since it's all cybernetic, it's all lined up, in his brain, he kind of has to be able to focus to do those. It's not just a button that you hit. Excuse me. So it makes it, automatically, you know what I'm saying? You could do it with your hands free, but you also got to be able to concentrate. So he's almost done, but he winds up throwing these bombs and he's faking it. You know what I'm saying? He's like, oh, they're going to blow up with hypersonics, dude. As soon as I read that, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way he could have possibly known that. Well, of course not. He lied. He lied. Because, of course, Tony Stark is telling him everything. I detected you through your heartbeat. Oh, I used these hypersonics to make it so you can't concentrate. Dude, shut up and arrest the guy. No, instead, now that he's able to escape, yes, he's able to escape because Tony Stark is going after this MacGuffin bomb, and meanwhile the Ghost is like, I'm out. He's Ghost. When we were kids, we say he's Swayze because remember Patrick Swayze played the Ghost, and just leave me alone. Don't judge me. So anyway, Ghost now, of course, is going to rectify his armor so that, you know, now you can't detect my heartbeat anymore, which is problematic. Roxxon Oil Company, more than just Roxxon Oil Company, just Roxxon. They're just like, you know, hey man, we actually sent this guy out there, and what's he doing? He's going around and he's got this personal vendetta now against Iron Man. In fact, the vendetta is so bad that he actually sends this information to Iron Man and says, "Oh, pretty cool, man, pretty cool. You beat me up, and then you know I had to escape from you. I don't like that. I'm holding a grudge, so I'm going to kill Tony Stark." Wow. The Ghost is actually a very cool character. You know what I'm saying? This was done back in the 80s. It was meant to be written a certain way and whatnot. We can look back on this as we're adults and be like, oh, okay, that's actually kind of interesting to see the way that we used to love these comic books back then. And for me, it's mostly nostalgia to go back and look at it. That writing style would not hold up today. But back then, it was perfect. And it's not just because, you know, my young mind at the time. This was a lot. You know, these comics were an introduction to a lot of things for a lot of kids. Basically, you learned about corporate espionage. You learned about all sorts of financial dealings and things like that. You didn't become an economics expert, absolutely not. But you very well could have decided to go into finance or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Basically, we don't learn the origin of the Ghost here, and that's just one of the genius parts of what Marvel used to do. They didn't necessarily always just give you the history of a character in the first meeting. Sometimes they would give it through, you know, oral narration, you know, like exposition. I'm doing this because, and you give the whole origin story. It's like, thanks for telling me, tough guy. Boom, gotcha. So that does not happen here. In fact, we don't know his origin at all. We won't know his origin for years to come. He's a ghost. We're not supposed to know. It's kind of a thing of beauty, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, Tony Stark is all sorts of infuriated. Like, dude, I'm scared. So for a couple of weeks now, he's working on trying to counter the Ghost technology. Meanwhile, he's like sleeping in his armor, if he can even sleep at all, because he knows that this dude's going to come at any moment, and he can turn invisible and walk through walls. So, anyway, Roxxon is like, dude, we sent this guy to go and sabotage Accutech because they won't sell us the beta technology. So, wrong answer, dude. So they said, listen, contact the Ghost and tell him, stick to the mission and stop being a butthead, stop going after Stark or Iron Man. That's not cool. This dude lives in a junkyard. Meanwhile, I'm not joking when I say this. There's constantly stacks of money all over the place, like stacks of $100 bills, all in rolls all over the place, everywhere. The dude is strapped in cash. He doesn't care. That's not what he cares. Like, he literally, he'll knock cash off the table. It's like, this junk is in my way. He literally says stuff like that. Ghost Explained in a Minute will give you a brief enough understanding of his backstory. Worst case scenario, go and start checking out some Thunderbolts comic books that he's in. He actually starts to give the backstory, but you can't trust his backstory because, one, he is an obstinate liar. The only thing he ever tells the truth about is that he lies all the time. And we get a lot of that here. Oh, this is, you know, activated by sound. No, it's not. No, it actually wasn't. You know what I'm saying? So, and there's several other incidents here too. You'll see. Anyway, and also the cybertech winds up messing with his brain. So he doesn't necessarily remember everything. But, yeah, go check out that Explained in a Minute for that. So here he's told back off. And he's like, oh, you're going to tell me to back off? Yeah, dude, we're going to pay you in full. We just need you to back off. And he's like, I signed in for a contract. I don't care about that stupid money you're trying to send me. And now I'm going to set off a contract on you. So the dude at Roxxon was like, okay, call that other number. So they call up this other dude that's supposed to help out. Turns out it's the Spy Master. Yeah, the Spy Master is crucial to the story, even though we don't necessarily have to see him at all in the Armor Wars story. But yeah, Spy Master. So Anyway, the cool thing about this is that this is actually a different Spy Master. The Spy Master himself is actually Ted Calloway, but this version of Spy Master actually works for Ted Calloway, but his name is Mark Sharon. What do you call it? So he anyway, he shows up and he's not quite as ruthless as he needs to be, and he does talk a little bit too much, but he disguises himself as Tony Stark to go into his facility and go up to his living quarters, his private quarters at the top of Stark Enterprises. And everybody's like, okay, cool. Well, Rhodey's been told, hey man, we should go get some food. Like, he just keeps leaving back and forth to get Chinese food, really quick, just so that Stark has enough sustenance to keep going. Fruits and vegetables to the diet, a couple of omega-3 fatty acids that might help out your brain. Just saying, bud. Anyway, and we're going to get some of that in the next issue. Anyway, by the way, we are in the next issue now, 220. So, what's his face? The secretary's like, oh, you want us to go get some more Chinese food? No problem, Mr. Rhodey. Hey, should we send Mr. Stark's food up to his private suite? Why would you do that? Well, because we just saw him go up to his private suite. And Stark is in the same room as Rhodey, so it's like, it's the Ghost! It's not. It's a Spy Master. But, so Spy Master goes up there and he's disguised as Tony Stark. And Spy Master goes up, or excuse me, Ghost goes up there. He phases through the wall. He's like, aha! I knew you'd be up here sooner or later. And he shoots him. Spy Master is wearing a Kevlar vest, Kevlar suit. It's not in his face, unfortunately. Doesn't help him. But the idea is that you can't get through him with a regular gun. So dude blasts him. It doesn't do anything. He turns around. It's like, gotcha. Bang. And he shoots this electronic scrambler on his chest. So what that does is he's depowered. He's siphoned. So he can't actually use his powers at all. He's like reduced to being on his hands and knees. Stark comes in with a Beretta. Now, the reason why he doesn't come in with a Silver Centurion armor blazing is because he took apart his armor. He's trying to, work some integral circuits together to try and help him battle against this knucklehead, the Ghost. So it's going to take him at least a half an hour to put that stuff all back together again. He doesn't have the time. So he takes Rhodey's Beretta, tells him, go and get my old, red and gold suit. So he goes up there and he starts firing. He's like the best shot in the world. He's like shooting the gun away from his hand and whatnot. But that's the thing. He's a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Not confused. He's, whatever. He's in a bit of a juxtaposition because he's just like, dude, I don't know if I should be stopping this guy from killing the Ghost. The Ghost is trying to kill me. It's like, what should I do here? Well, he does decide to try and stop him. It doesn't work out very well to us because he's just like, he can't get through him. He's got, the Kevlar suit on, the Spy Master. So while Spy Master and Stark are going back and forth with each other, the Ghost goes and pulls some circuitry up and some, power outlets, and he's able to absorb the energy to recharge his suit and overload the siphon that's on his chest. So now he's got his powers back. And he's able to get out of there. Spy Master's like, I almost had this guy. Yeah, you should have just pulled the trigger when you had a chance instead of having a freaking conversation, dude. I'm just saying. So anyway, they start chasing each other. Spy Master starts trying to chase the Ghost. Ghost is just trying to get out of Dodge until his circuitry can get back to normal. He actually goes and he ends up in the women's bathroom, grabs this woman, is like, I'll kill her. And Spy Master's like, okay, I'm going to shoot through her to get to you, dummy. And he's got these razors, this gun that fires these razors. And what do you call it? This razors can actually cut through the Silver Centurion armor. So that's pretty powerful. It's going through this girl. It's going through Spy Master, the Ghost. The thing is, he just drops the girl. He's like, you're ruthless. I like you. I'm out. So Ghost is trying to run again. Anyway, Stark shows up with the armor. Rhodey came and brought the armor in the suitcase to Stark. He's like, how come you're not wearing it? Okay. The Demon in the Bottle storyline that also by Michelioni. He's like, dude, Stark is like, there are too many memories with this, man. I can't use this armor anymore. I specifically made the Silver Centurion armor look differently because I don't want to be reminded of the alcoholism. Well, Rhodey just recently, when he was wearing the armor, he had actually jacked himself up. The armor caught on fire with him trapped inside of it, burnt him up. Earlier on, they actually mentioned it. He's got the scars still on his chest. It's like they've healed, but they're still scarred. So there's still that memory. So he's like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. Then neither of us are going after him. I don't know what to say. He's like, all right, fine. I'll put on the stupid armor. Stark puts on the red and gold armor. So it's the old Mark V armor. So he's going after him, and what do you call it? They're not clowning around. Ghost is like, okay, you know, like this repulsor blast knocked both of them out. But Ghost gets up and he's like, Spymaster, listen, this is a portable version of my phasing technology. I'm gonna put it on you. Let's get out of here. Let's walk through the wall. So Ghost knows to go all the way through the wall. Spymaster falls through the wall. He's like, oh, well, this is weird. He's got to, you know, get his footing right because the floor is still a little bit weird. So he's trying to get up, but he's still halfway through the wall. And it's like, that's really cool of you to save me. You know, you're a pretty okay guy. He's like, I wasn't saving you. I was killing you. And he removes the circuitry. Immediately, like, the dude's barely got enough time to scream. He's halfway through this wall. I'm going to tell you right now that the half of him that was through the wall is right through his groin. So, like, the worst way to go out, dude. The worst way to go out. The Ghost is evil. The Ghost is evil. So, yeah, this version of Spymaster, all these masters. You know, Metallica, that song is going through my head right now. Master of Puppets. Anyway, so, yours too now, right? So Iron Man's like, oh no! Rhodey comes out, oh ew. and Spymaster is dead. This secondary version of Spymaster is dead. So, what do you call it? Stark is like, okay, this is not cool. And meanwhile, the Ghost is sending little love letter messages. Now I'm going to get you too, Iron Man. Urgh. Okay, enough of this. Dude's got to go down. And Stark is telling Rhodey, he's like, he's not going to have the chance because I'm done waiting for this guy to come after me. I'm going after him. Stark literally has until this Friday before his credit is ended. They will actually end his credit. They'll start defaulting on his loans and all of his borrowing, and they're going to start trying to reclaim everything. What do you call it? So he's got to do this presentation for the beta particle, and he's scheduled for this one day at 12. Meanwhile, everybody is like even his secretary is typing on an old typewriter, not a word processor. For all you little kiddies out there, that's the stuff that predated actual, you know, regular computers before we had the internet. Now we just call them PCs and Apples and whatever else, you know, is out there. But this was probably a Sun computer. You ever hear of those? Maybe it was a Wang computer. Yes, there was a Wang computer. I think they still exist. Anyway, it was a really awesome computer back in the day. Way better than an IBM. IBM was just... Go watch Back to the Future. Okay, so check this out. This dude Flex shows up in a McDonald's or whatever, and he's like, it's literally just a little distraction, but it's awesome. Here's this dude, first appearance of this guy named Flex. This is an issue 221 of Iron Man, and he's just like, yeah, all this cholesterol and MSG and salt and fatty, greasy stuff, and he doesn't mention sugars. That's sad. That's the biggest killer of people, but okay. It's a legalized drug as far as I'm concerned. So he's just like, this stuff is all bad, and Iron Man's got to slap him around and throw him through a grease trap machine. It's so bad. Anyway, it was a cool little distraction. It was fun. He's talking about it, you know, all throughout. A health food nut terrorist. Just so he's like, we must eat organic. So Stark, what's really funny is he's apparently dating, and she dumps him, Tawny Katane. If you're not familiar with Tawny Katane, look up David Coverdale from Whitesnake. And Tawny Katane, she was that ridiculously hot girl who was in the original Beastmaster film. Oh my God, Be Still My Heart. And several other films. She's playing like Sheena, Queen of the Jungle in this particular issue. Anyway, he loses her as a date because he's too busy with... what's his face, the Ghost right now. So I love the stupid little interludes of all the people who he's dating. I've said many times, guys, I don't like Tony Stark as a character, but make no mistake, I love reading his stories anyways. It's not a hate read. It's, I hate this guy so much, I love the character. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's Such a great story. I don't know how people can't hate Tony Stark, man. Anyway, so 12 o'clock comes and he's out there doing his thing. Well, of course, here comes the Ghost. Ghost is like, "Aha! Weren't expecting me!" And he shoots him. Tony Stark not only ignores him, but the freaking laser beam goes right through him. He's like, what? Does he have phasing tech? No. The machine he's actually standing in front of is a holographic projector, and the board meeting people he's talking about, or that he's talking to, are actually security. So Tony Stark shows up in the Silver Centurion armor, and it's still not enough. What do you call it? A bunch of the security guys get hurt. One of them actually gets killed. Yes, one of them actually dies. A lot of death in the comic books back in the 80s, man. It doesn't happen that much anymore. It's like everything's rated PG. What's up? And you see My Little Ponies running across. Not that I have a problem with ponies, brony. But people used to die a lot back in the days, all right? Just cannon fodder, everybody. There's a reason why our citizens didn't like superheroes so much in the comic book world. So, anyway, this knucklehead Ghost is going to try and go after the actual beta particle. And, of course, Stark's got to be like, I lied. We've been typing on, typing machines and whatnot and sending out the real letters that the meeting's going to be at 3 o'clock, not 12 o'clock. I figure 3 hours is more than enough time to kick your butt. What a butthead. Anyway, so look, push comes to shove. There's a lot of running around, a lot of chasing and all that crazy stuff. And at one point, Ghost actually comes into the proper room. He finds the proper room where this beta particle decelerator is actually at. And he's trying to destroy it. But Stark is like, flip the switch and let's actually turn on the machine. And Rhodey's like, okay, boss. And there's the Ghost right there, almost at the darn machine. You know what I'm saying? He's going to fulfill the contract from, what's their faces? Roxxon. So Rhodey has to run out of the room because the hypersensitivity of this machine is actually causing sonics again. So it's going to kill him soon. It's going to prove fatal to the Ghost too. And it's also messing with his equipment, so he can't even use his equipment at this point. His equipment, his technology overheats if he uses it for too long. And right now, it's almost like it's in a state of constantly on, even though it's not functioning. So he's overheating big time. Stark is okay for now. He can stay in his armor for a while, but he's going to have to get out of that room really soon. And the closer you get to that machine, the more likely you are to die. So Stark won't go too near the machine, and he allows Ghost to stand up and walk past him to go towards the machine. Stark is really conflicted. Conflicted, that's the word I was looking for before. Stark is really conflicted because he goes over to the machine, and he's to the controls of the machine, which are actually over here, and he grabs the lever, and he's thinking to himself, I should shut this thing off. But no, this guy just killed the security guard. He just killed the spy master. He's a killer. I should just let him go to his own fate. And he does. This is one of the reasons why I love to hate Tony Stark. Because it's the obvious thing to do for us normal people. And Tony Stark, for all intents and purposes, is normal. Okay, he's better than all of us in everything, but he's still just a guy. He doesn't have his stuff all the time. If he's without a suit, he had no bandwidth. Oh, he's still better than all of us. He's still smarter than us, sexier than us, gets more women than us on accident, physically, better fit than us, and all that stuff, at least in the 80s. They've changed that as of late, you know that. But, what do you call it? Forget about it, dude. Like, the guy, he's a regular guy, and he's like, I'm going to let him choose if he wants to live or die. I'm not going to, save this guy's life and allow him to destroy my machine that'll bankrupt my company if it's destroyed and all that stuff. No, I got a meeting at 3 to show off this machine and make money. Let's just say Tony Stark gets to make all the money he needs because Ghost dies. His machine, his circuitry overheats so much that he actually phases through everything, through the floor. And not phases, excuse me. He melts through the floor. They get several stories down, and Tony Stark, gets down there. He's shining his flashlight from his unibeam projector. Excuse me, his searchlight from his chest, and he's just like, all I see is some melted circuitry there. Dude, I think this guy died. That's messed up. So he lost a lot of karma, I guess, but, it is what it is. The dude technically killed himself. Now, of course, we find out later on he didn't actually die, but we don't even know how he escaped. It's not what's important. For a character like the Ghost, that's perfectly okay. Guys, later on, certain of these events will eventually lead to, indirectly, to the Armor Wars. That will be a spotlight and story soon. So will the previous thing that I'd mentioned in here, the Demon in a Bottle. All of it's got to be. I think it's Tony Stark time on Comic Book University. Anyway, this is an awesome story. Loved the story, just the 3 issues. I've got links to the digital comics below, but only the digital comics, because they I don't think they ever made a trade paperback for this. And if they did, please let me know. Worst case scenario, go and check out the actual individual comics below and all the good stuff that comes afterwards. In my opinion, Silver Centurion armor was the best version of the Iron Man armor, story-wise, at the very least. There were so many cool moments in these stories. Not just Armor Wars, dude. So much cool. So much cooliosity. Anyway, that's going to be it for me, guys. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. A lot of construction outside. Go figure. Class dismissed.